All right, welcome everyone to tonight's meeting of the Clyde Sukeforth chapter of SABR. I'm Bruce McClure, the chapter chair, and we always hold our meetings in conjunction with the Gardner-Waterman chapter of SABR in Vermont, Dr. Clayton Truder, chair. Now let's get right into this one because this is a real special presentation. We've got a real treat for you this evening, ladies and gentlemen. If someone described an amateur regional baseball league that had produced 18 future major leaguers, that'd probably seem impressive. The Cape Cod Baseball League has produced many, many times that. More than 1,800 alumni have gone on to play Major League Baseball. It's become such a destination for development and showcasing of college talent that there are more than 18 such new players every year. Perhaps as impressive in other respects is how the league was born and remains nurtured by a true community of volunteers rooted in Massachusetts and on Cape Cod. Players typically stay with host families, sometimes working in family shops or other local businesses. Volunteers staff games, which are all free to the public. Interns help with operations for the 10 teams, and a good number of interns find a future in baseball too, working in the fields of scouting, analytics, writing, photography, broadcasting, and more. SABR member Mike Richard has been the historian of the Cape Cod Baseball League since 2018. A longtime columnist for the Gardner News, he also wrote sports columns for the Worcester Telegram and Gazette, the Barnstable Patriot, and the Cape Cod Times. He has authored 2 sports history books, Glory to Gardner, 100 Years of Football in the Chair City, and Super Saturdays, the complete history of the Massachusetts High School Super Bowl, as well as contributions to many SABR publications, including the upcoming book, Cape Cod Baseball League, From College Stars to Big League Futures. Also known for his exhaustive research of Massachusetts high school sports history, he is the historian of the Massachusetts Interscholastic Athletic Association and is responsible for all records and stats for the annual state tournament programs. And he is here tonight with his presentation, Cape Cod Baseball, Where the Stars of Tomorrow Shine Tonight. Mike Richard, welcome to Northern New England. How are you?
Hey, Bruce, I'm coming for you live from Sandwich, Massachusetts, actually. I've never ridden in a Sandwich police car either, I'm pleased to say, but
That's a good thing.
yes, but I'm doing well, thank you. And we're just great that you're giving the Cape Cod League a little spotlight among the SABR chapter this week.
So before we get started with Mike's presentation, I want to let everybody know this is going to run a little differently tonight. Mike does not have a slideshow. He's going to be discussing the Cape Cod League with all of you. If you have a question at any time during his presentation, go down to the bottom of the screen and hit the react button. You'll see another button marked raise hand. Raise your hand and we will get you in line to ask those questions when we find breaks in the presentation. Mike, it's all yours. I'm stepping aside. Go get them.
Okay, thank you. Well, Cape Cod Baseball League, where do you start? For those of you that remember last year's World Series, okay, Game 7, 10th inning, Will Smith came up to bat for the LA Dodgers, and he hit a home run off of Shane Bieber, which was the ultimate winning run to give the Dodgers the World Series championship. Well, amazingly enough, 10 years earlier, Will Smith was catching for the Brewster Whitecaps here on Cape Cod. Shane Bieber was pitching for the Yarmouth Dennis Red Sox. Now, I wish I could say that Will Smith homered off of Shane Bieber to win the Cape League title that year. I'm not sure that happened because Will Smith didn't hit a home run all year. And I'm not sure he even faced Shane Bieber. But that just goes to show you how cyclical the Cape Cod Baseball League has become with Major League Baseball. Last year alone, we had over 400 former Cape Leaguers play Major League Baseball. And if you take a look across the boards, as Bruce mentioned, we've had 1,800 former major leaguers, since the baseball started here on Cape Cod, way back in the 1800s, actually. The Cape Cod Baseball League dates back to the year 1923. And 1923 was, the year that the first league was organized here. It was 4 teams. It was Hyannis, Osterville, Falmouth, and Chatham. Those were the 4 teams. And there'd been baseball played here well before that time. In fact, baseball on Cape Cod goes back to the 1860s. But in reality, it was the first year that they actually had a playoff. So they had standings that year. They had a playoff, and it was the year that Cape Cod baseball basically began, and we've been going strong for 103 years. It hasn't necessarily been 103 seasons because we missed the year 2020 due to the COVID outbreak. And then between 1939 and 1945, there was a lull during World War II where there was no baseball played here. But other than that, it's been continuing to that time period. I will also say that in 1963, it's kind of the dividing period between the early days of Cape Cod baseball and the modern era, because in 1963, the NCAA got involved. Prior to that time, it was basically town teams with kids that came here that, there was some college talent, but there were also some old timers that had been playing in the league for a long period of time. And by 1963, when the NCAA began to get involved, that's when there were more colleges sending kids here. And then over the years, it just grew and grew and grew to the point where, we now have 10 teams in the league. There are 5 teams in each division. The West Division has Wareham, Hyannis, Falmouth, Patuit, and I'm forgetting one. Wareham, Hyannis, Falmouth, Patuit, and Bourne. And then on the east, it's Brewster, Yarmouth, Dennis, Harwich, Orleans, and Chatham. So those are the 2 divisions. I can basically talk, a little bit about the different players over the course of times, but I think maybe the best thing to do is kind of maybe just open this up right now to people that may have questions about it. The beauty of this league is that it's run by volunteers. Every team has volunteers that basically run the league. It's, the only people that are paid are the managers and coaches and the umpires. Other than that, players live with host families. And it's really a well-run program throughout here.
Let's get started with some questions. Pardon me,
Yeah,
Mike.
Craig.
We have Craig Garrettson here, the editor of the 11th Street Eagle down in northern New Jersey. You are up, Craig. How are you?
Good. We're actually doggedly pursuing a Trenton Thunder story for an upcoming issue, which is a collegiate
pursuing. I love it.
They're a collegiate bat league also. So that was my question was, I think everybody's heard of the Cape Cod League. What are some of the other similar leagues around the country? I think there was one in Alaska, or maybe there still is.
There was an Alaskan league. There's one, I think, out in the Dakotas. I believe there was an Appalachian League at one time. I guess the Cape Cod League has been the premier college league for, all of those, all of the years. I think the best of the best come here normally. One of the great things about the Cape Cod Baseball League is that it's a wooden bat league. And, we have players that come here from colleges that, have from the time they were in high school have swung an aluminum bat. Well, they come here to the Cape Cod League, and for the first time, they're swinging a wooden bat. And it just goes to show that wood slows their swing down just a tad. I'll give you a perfect example. Pete Alonso, one of the great home run hitters of the last 10 years. I mean, how many major league home run derbies has he won, and how many times has he hit 50 home runs with the Mets? He came here and played in the league back in 2015. He played for Bourne. He didn't hit a single home run all season long. Now, I mean, it's Pete Alonso, one of the great home run hitters. Cal Raleigh, okay, who was last year's Major League Baseball home run league hitter. He played for Harwich in 2016. Cal Raleigh bettered Pete Alonso's mark by one. Cal Raleigh hit one home run in 2016. Now, not only are they swinging a wooden bat, but they're facing night in and night out the best pitcher of every college's pitching staff that come here. I mean, one night you'll face, the best from LSU. And then when this kid goes 4 innings, they'll bring in the next best guy from Clemson, to pitch innings 5, 6, and 7, or they'll bring in a closer, from Stanford or something. So, there's no weak arms out there when you're playing. You're facing some of the best. Bruce?
So my question to you, we up here in Clyde Sukeforth's neck of the woods in New Hampshire and Maine, we have 4 teams really from the New England Collegiate League. As well as 2, if you count Lowell, in the Futures League. How do those leagues compare to the Cape Cod League in terms of overall competition or quality of player?
Well, I'm not sure what college, type players they take at that level. Okay. I know for the most part, the Cape League, I mean, there are some Division III and Division II players here, but for the most part, it's a Division I, league, or so it would seem. Most of the team, I mean, every Cape League team down here has a general manager. And so from the time that the end of the baseball season ends for them in usually mid-August, they're already stocking their lineup for next year. They're getting ready for next season. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's a year-round thing. And, of course, nowadays with the NIL and the portal and all of these things, you might have a kid coming in September or October. Let's just say you've got a kid coming in from Florida State, and he signs with you in September or October. Well, maybe by the time he comes to you in June, he's now playing in Virginia. And he comes up with a different set of rules from the Virginia coach. Sometimes they come up here with pitch counts if they're a pitcher. Sometimes their coach will say, well, we only want you up there for 3 weeks. So, what used to be a 25 or 30 man roster sometimes grows to 50, 60. Sometimes there are 70 players that come through over the course of one season on a roster, which is a huge headache, not only for coaches, but for host families, who have to bring these, people into their household and get to know them for a couple of weeks. And then they've got somebody else moving in. So it's becoming more and more of a challenge, or so it seems, now.
So that is a big difference from the New England League or the Futures League, because I don't see where players in either of those 2 leagues are cycled through nearly as hard as what you just described.
Well, and what happens here too a lot is that you'll go to a game and there are probably anywhere from 12 to 15, maybe 20 scouts at every single game, behind the backstop. They actually have a cordoned off area where Major League Baseball scouts sit. So there are scouts at every, at all of these games. I don't know if there are as many scouts that may go to some of these New England baseball games, but boy, they're here for these games. And then another thing that happens is some of these players will come here, and then 2 weeks into the season, the Major League Draft now is I think it's in late June, early July. It used to be later in the year. So sometimes you'll get a kid here and he's here for 2 weeks and suddenly he gets drafted and he's gone. So that's the other thing that you have to put up with here, the uncertainty of it all.
Do any major league clubs have ties to Cape Cod clubs?
No, they don't have any ties here, but Major League Baseball does help out the league.
Mhm.
There is monies that come here to help keep the league going and keep the league afloat. So, but as far as ties, no. And in fact, for a few years, there were several teams here in Cape Cod that had major league nicknames that they had to give up because of Major League Baseball. The Orleans Firebirds used to be known as the Orleans Cardinals. And Major League Baseball said, you can't be the Cardinals anymore. The Hyannis Mets had to become the Hyannis Harbor Hawks. And there was one other team. Now, the Harwich Mariners, they were Mariners before Seattle became Mariners, so they got to keep their name. The Yarmouth Dennis Red Sox had a deal going with the Boston Red Sox so they could keep their name. So there are some, in the Bourne Braves, I think due to the fact of the Native Americans that were here before, the Boston Braves were around. I think the Bourne Braves get to keep that as well. But so there's no ties necessarily to the Cape Cod League with Major League Baseball, but they do help out the major leagues itself quite a bit. Another thing that we're kind of proud of is that this year we're going to have our 8th former Cape Leaguer going into Cooperstown with Jeff Kent.
Yep.
Jeff Kent was selected to Major League Baseball by the I believe it was the Legends Committee and Jeff Kent played for Catuit back in 1988. Didn't have a great year down here as such. In fact, 1988 was one of the greatest years for future major league talent down here on the Cape League. It produced such players as Frank Thomas, who later went into the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame, Jeff Bagwell, also a Major League Baseball Hall of Famer, Mo Vaughn, Chuck Knobloch, Mickey Morandini, John Valentin, J.T. Snow. There's probably anywhere from 10 to 15 former major leaguers that were here back in 1988. And interestingly enough, it was one of the few years that they actually came out with a baseball card set here, unbeknownst to anybody. And that was one of the few years that they had a baseball card set of Cape League players. And anybody that may own those cards, they've got some, a pretty valuable set that were only $5 for the set back then. And I think they go for a couple $100 right now.
Well, I'm going to bet you money that Mark Hoyle's got that set. Hey, Mark, do you have
I'm
that
sure
set?
he must.
I do. I have 2 of them.
See what I tell you.
I think there was 2 sets. I think there was
There are
2
two
sets.
sets.
Out that
You're
year.
right, Mark. There are 2 different sets. Yeah,
2 different
correct.
ones. Yeah.
Yeah.
He did make a comment in the chat. The Chatham A's had to change their name as well.
That's correct. Yeah. They're the Anglers now, but yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Sean Moore in the chat has an interesting comment. We're going to get to Karen Holler in just a minute. Cape Cod League games are free, no admission cost. I don't understand how they stay afloat, but they do somehow. Can you comment to that, Mike?
Sure. Every team has their, I'll tell you, the towns here are extremely supportive of the teams. So what happens is every team will pass the hat or pass the bucket. In Catuit, because they're the Kettleers, they pass the kettles. Okay. So every team, has these where they do that. They do 50-50 raffles at games. They do, they're constantly fundraising and, allowing for these things to happen. Places within the community will give to the team. So, I mean, they're incredibly generous. As I said, there are 10 different communities here that support these teams. So, I think by charging admission, they probably wouldn't have the same. I know they wouldn't have this. It wouldn't have the same feel, the same. I mean, Cape Cod is. It's unique to baseball for that simple reason that you're bringing in families. Anybody can come. I mean, you can, one certain nights of the week you can bring your dog. And it's you can walk the dog around the infield or things like that. It's a very homey, very family oriented thing, and it's just that the towns are very, very supportive of all of the teams, and it allows for not having to have an admission fee.
I will say that a couple of At least one NECBL team is admission free. You can go right into the Upper Valley Nighthawks games in White River Junction, Vermont. They've been sponsored by a local bank for a good 6-8 years now, and all their tickets are free, which is nice. But other teams in that league, Keene, which is one of the most successful college baseball franchises in the history of college baseball franchises, they get, holy moly, we did an outreach event down there, and they had like 2,000 people at this game, and they charge admission.
Yeah.
You had to see it to believe it. It's interesting to watch that league because some teams are far better run than others, especially Keene. Keene's like the class of the league. They're almost the Yankees of this league. And Steve Lauderman in the chat, I'm going to get to everybody with their hands raised in just a moment. It says, I think the New England League has lower level D1 players. I live in Northbridge, close to Worcester. Welcome, Steve. We'd love to have you for further events. Watch our calendar because we'd love to have you out. He sings in a chorus, and he's singing the anthem at the Worcester Bravehearts games in June, which is in the Futures League, if I recall. Steve, if you could flip your camera on or your mic on and let me know, they're in the Futures League too, right?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah,
they've
I
been
thought
around
so.
for several years. Yeah.
So
they play at Holy Cross.
Yeah. And they advertise at the Worcester Red Sox games. I thought it was kind of funny, Mike.
Yeah. No, I think I would say most games average between 2,000 and 3,000 here. Really? On the Cape. Some larger. But it depends on the night. It depends sometimes on the matchups. But yeah, it's not unusual to have crowds upward there. We have 3 fields that do not have lights. Catuit, Brewster, and Yarmouth Dennis do not have lights. So as a result, they start their games around 5:00, whereas there are teams, because they have lights, I think Chatham quite frequently starts their games around 7:30. But Chatham has an issue with fog coming in. There've been a lot of games that have been fogged out at Chatham. Bourne had a field once that they used to have a half-hour sun delay because the way they built it, the sun would be coming down right in the batter's eyes. So if they had games on Saturday afternoons in particular, it would affect the batter. So, we've had some of those, unique things happening as well. I see a couple of hands. We got
a couple of hands up. Yeah. Chuck McGill in the chat did say the Lake Monsters in the Future League, which is up in Burlington, averages about 2,000 a night, which is nice. Oh my goodness. Look who has her hand up. Buckle up, ladies and gentlemen. Here she is, the queen of the virtual meeting with Saber, Karen Holleran. Karen, unmute. How you doing?
Hey, I'm fine. How are you?
Doing great. Go get them.
Okay, I have a question. How many of these teams do they ever use women in the games?
Use women in the games?
Yeah, do they find that there are some women who are very good at the baseball with these places?
Well, I mean, we had actually, there was, as far as playing, no, but as far as being involved in the league, we had a president of the league, Judy Scarafile, who was president for about 12 or 15 years, I think. She was a groundbreaker. In fact, Judy's in the Baseball Hall of Fame for what she was able to do as far as that goes. There are 3 or 4 women who are team presidents. I know the president of the Bourne team, the president of the Harwich team, and I believe the president of the Orleans team are all women. So there are a number of women that are very, very active and involved in the league itself. I don't believe we've had a woman umpire just yet. Not that they haven't, allowed it, but I'm sure that that's not too far away.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Jen Paul came up to the major leagues through the Eastern League, and I got to see her work a couple of games in Manchester.
We did have the Silver Bullets come down here, the core Silver Bullets back in the late 90s, I think, to play a Cape League All-Star team. And they did quite well, as I've read. I wasn't here at the time, but
I
I
wonder
think
if
they did
Negro was
pretty
managing them at the time.
He could have been, yeah, maybe.
There's actually a upcoming Saber book on the Colorado Silver Bullets. I'm not sure exactly when it's going to be published, but that's coming out as well. Mark Hoyle's up. Mark, man, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good, Bruce.
Super to have you. Come on, go ahead.
Well, so I was just Mike already talked about it, but the games start at different times. I can get to Wareham or Bourne in a half hour, so I go to 1 or 2 games a week. If I'm staying down the Cape, if you play your cards right, we stay in Yarmouth. I catch the game at 4, watch about a few innings, go get my wife, go to Eton, Harwich or Chatham, catch that game. It starts at 7:30 or 8, so you can catch a couple games in the night if you do it right. As far as how, I always try to. You can tip when you take your program. I always try to visit the snack bar, go to the souvenir stand. There's different ways you can contribute money to the league. Pass the hat, like we said. I have put together a whole set of every guy who played down the Cape that actually made the major leagues.
It's amazing.
Cards. Yeah. So, and I have over 1,800. So I don't know, some of these. I went by a few different lists, and every one was a little different. So I just went all out and got one from every list I could find. So, one question I had: Did Alex Cora play down the Cape? Because he's in the Orleans yearbook, but he didn't play.
Alex Cora is? Joey Cora played.
Alex is in the yearbook because I have it in one of the years early in the season, but I couldn't find any stats for him.
Yeah, no, I've never seen any any record of Alex being out. I know Joey played. In fact, Joey's in our Hall of Fame.
All right, yeah. I'll copy the picture and email it to you.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I'll bring it down to you.
Okay, great. Yeah, sure.
Next up, Dixie Tarango. Dixie, how you doing?
I'm doing fine.
Okay.
Mike, could you give us a foundation? When does your league start? When does it end? What is the playoff system? And on a completely different level, how valuable has it been that Peter Gammons has promoted the league almost his whole writing career?
Wow, great questions, and thank you for asking those. The league this year is going to start on Saturday, June 13th, and it runs until the first week of August, the regular season, that is. There's usually a built-in day off each week so that the players, have that day off built in there. Because there are 5 teams in each division, only 4 teams in each division make the playoffs. So the top, as it goes, 4 plays 1 and 3 plays 2 in the first round, and then the winners meet in the in the semifinals, and then it's on to the finals. They usually do it very quickly, so it's a 2 out of 3 for that, and they usually get those finished. I'm going to say if the playoffs start on August 1st, they're usually done by about the 8th of August, because they try to get the players out of here as quickly as they can, back home for about a week or so before they have to go back to school. They're always running into into issues with the start of the season and the end of the season. The problem with the start of the season is that the College World Series is still going on for a lot of these players. So some of them can't get here in time, to start their season. And then a lot of them are looking at the season as it's going. If they're not doing that well, if the season isn't going that well, they sometimes kind of, maybe I'm going to go back home a couple of weeks early. And it's not unusual for a player to abandon his team down here, sadly enough. So that does happen on occasion. But usually by the 8th or 9th of August, the season is pretty much done by that time. Boy, what can I say about Peter Gammons? I'll tell you a real quick story. One day my phone rang, and it was one of those, I had no idea who it was. And I usually don't answer the phone, but I picked it up and it was Peter Gammons. I said, hello. And he said, is this Mike Richard? I said, yeah. He said, hey, Mike, this is Peter Gammons. I wonder if you could help me out. And my jaw, Peter Gammons is the greatest baseball writer of all time is asking me to help him. So he said, I'm looking, he said, I wanted to know, he said, Todd Helton, he said, I'm writing an article for The Athletic about Todd Helton. And I seem to remember that he won the home run hitting derby one year in the Cape Cod All-Star game. And he said, I can't find the information anyway. I said, well, yeah. I said, Todd Helton, it was back in 1994. I said, Todd Helton was, he went up against Darren Erstad in the first round and he beat Erstad. And then he went from there to the finals against Mike Glavin, who's the current baseball coach at Northeastern University. And it was a rainy, cold day, and Helton hit one home run and Glavin hit none. And so Helton ended up winning the home run derby by one home run. So Peter Gammon said, my God, he said, how do you know? He said, I thought I knew a lot about baseball. How do you know that? I said, well, Peter, after all, I am the Cape League historian. And then I paused and I said, okay, full disclosure here. About an hour earlier, a guy I know from the Cape, John Garner, called me up and he said, hey, Peter Gammons needs some help. He said he's doing a story on Todd Helton, and he wants to know if Todd Helton ever won the batting, ever home run derby. So I was at my home in Sandwich. I flew over to the Cape Cod Community College, where I knew that they had the Cape Cod Times on microfilm. I got in there, I zipped through. I researched it. I wrote all the information down. No sooner did I put the microfilm away, I was walking out of the library and my phone rang and it was Peter Gammons. So I said, Peter, I said, I've got to admit, I said, I knew about this phone call ahead of time and I did this research. I don't know, it's not off the top of my head. Well, from that point on, he must have talked to me for the next half hour, just talking baseball. It was amazing. And we've developed a really good friendship. I've gotten to know Peter very well. He is a gem. He is a national treasure. And a couple of times, we've gotten together on different occasions. And last year, I had an idea. I wanted to get Peter and Dan Shaughnessy and Bob Ryan and Lee Montville, who four of the greatest sports writers in the history of Boston sports, down here to the Cape as the Mount Rushmore of Boston Globe sports writers. And I had them come down here to throw out a first pitch at Falmouth. So they came down last year and they did it. And they were kind of a little unsure about what they wanted to do. And I said, this would be great. Let's. And so when we met in the parking lot beforehand, and I said to them, I said, you guys don't realize this, but you are going to be the Beatles tonight. You were going to be well, no sooner did we leave the parking lot and started walking toward the field, but there were people stopping them. They wanted selfies. They had baseballs for them to sign. There was a guy that pulled out an article that Lee Montville wrote in 1979 that he kept all these years that he wanted him to autograph. And they would they were interviewed. They had photos taken. They threw out the first pitch. They all said, did the play ball at the microphone. They were thrilled. And it went over so well that we're going to do it again this summer. I think it's July 21st at Patuit. So the foursome are all coming back here, and we're going to do Mount Rushmore Part 2 with the four of them. But Peter Gammons has been so supportive of the Cape Cod Baseball League. Every year, the Cape League goes to Fenway Park. And they have a Fenway Day, and all of the players get a chance to go there and take aim at the Green Monster and take infield practice and see Fenway up close. And Peter is always there behind the backstop, and I stand with him frequently and just watch players come over to him with the adulation they have for him, and it's amazing. And he's as I said, he's a treasure, and he is somebody that has just done so much for the Cape, and we can't thank him enough. He's in our Hall of Fame. We have a Peter Gammons award that's given every year for outstanding support and distinction to the league, and he's the best. So thank you for asking about Peter. He's a gem.
One tiny question: how many games are played in the regular season?
They vary. I think there's going to be, I believe it's 40 this year.
Yes, I've got it on my screen. Yeah, I just looked it up. Go
It's
ahead.
40. Yeah. Sometimes it varies between 38, 42. The general managers and the coaches, I mean, the general managers for the most part make the decisions on that, but I guess it's 40 this year. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All-Star game is Saturday, July 18th at White House Field, home of the Harwich Mariners. It's the seventh time they're hosting.
Yep.
Playoff format will feature 3 rounds of best of 3 with the top 4 in each division qualifying, as Mike said earlier. Playoffs are scheduled to begin Tuesday, August 4th and conclude by Wednesday, August 12th. So that's in and out quick. The fine newsletter e-zine editor from our chapter, Megan Hanna, is here. Megan, what's up?
Hi, Mike. I love that story about Peter Gammons. That's a great story.
Yeah.
But my question, so I think, most baseball fans, they know about the Cape Cod League, and you were talking about how 1,800 Major League Baseball players have come through there and 8 Hall of Famers. I'm wondering, how did the Cape Cod League become such a premier destination for top baseball talent?
Good question. I think it all kind of got started with the fact that Major League Baseball bought in, the NCAA bought in. They just looked at this as a great destination. I mean, it's a great spot to do it. They've brought it, every team is coached by for the most part, a college coach. I can't tell you off the top of my head which colleges they come from, but they're college coaches that are renowned. And I just think over the course of time, and it took some time. I mean, as I said, 1963 was really the year it kind of got started, but little by little it built up. For a time period between, I think it was 1974 and 84. They went back to aluminum. They went from wood to aluminum to try that for a while. It was as a cost-saving thing because there were a lot of broken bats. And they decided, this wasn't the kind of league we wanted. We want to get back to wood. So they did. I just think that it's the reputation that it's built over the course of time. And as I mentioned, there were 8, I didn't mention all 8 Baseball Hall of Famers, but, the last 3 years, we've had a Cape Leaguer go into the Hall of Fame. It was Jeff Kent this year. Last year, it was Billy Wagner. The year before that was Todd Helton. And then in addition, Frank Thomas, Craig Biggio, Jeff Bagwell, Carlton Fisk, Major League Baseball Hall of Famer, played 1 week here. Okay, in 1966. Interesting story. He was playing for his baseball team out of Bellows Falls, Vermont. It was a Legion team, and they had gone to the Legion finals or whatever. And I think they went deep into the season. They probably won the championship. And I think it might have been the last week of July. He was freed up to play, so he came here. He hit 2 home runs. He batted over 700, but he only played 1 week. So unfortunately, he wasn't here long enough to win a batting title, and he didn't have the numbers to be considered for our Hall of Fame. So we let Cooperstown put him in there instead. And previously, the very first Cape Leaguer to go into the Hall of Fame is Pie Traynor. Pie Traynor played for the Falmouth/Oak Bluffs baseball team, Oak Bluffs on Martha's Vineyard, back in 1919. I mean, can you imagine having to hop a ferry and go over to play a baseball game there? But they did. But yeah, Harold Pie Traynor, a native of Framingham, Mass., who went to Somerville High School and then played here for 1 season in 1919 and is also a Cooperstown Hall of Famer. So we've had some good. So I think the tradition over the course of time and the reputation has just built up this league. And it just keeps, to me, getting stronger and stronger. I mean, I tune in frequently to Red Sox games and on Nesson, and they'll always mention, this guy played in the Cape League. He was with Brewster. This guy was with Chatham. This guy was with whatever team. It's great that they get that exposure on television as well. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I've heard them mention it a lot.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, I am beginning to
and Lou
smell
Maloney.
a field
Lou
trip.
Maloney's another guy. I mean, Lou played for both Bourne and Cotuit, and he's a Cape League Hall of Famer. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm beginning to smell a field trip to the Cape. I think we're going to get something again. We're going to stay at Mike's house.
Well, I know. I know Bill is on here. I'm not sure if he's but we do have a game, a Sabre gathering here on June 24th for a lot of the people that were part of the book, the Sabre book. It's going to be at the Bourne baseball field. The reason we decided to have it there is because it's so close to the Bourne Bridge, which, by the way, they're doing some work on right now. So I can't promise you're not going to have any traffic issues off and on the bridge, but it's it's an issue. But either way, it's we're going to be doing it that evening. It's going to be Cotuit, I believe it is, taking on. I'm not sure if it's Cotuit. I think it's Cotuit that night playing against Bourne, and that's the Sabre book. The Cape League book authors are going to be gathering there.
Cotuit,
it is Bill.
Yeah, it's Bourne. Yep, I think they're playing Bourne. Mark Hoyle's got his hand up. Mark, go ahead.
I was going to show off some of the cards if people just want to take a look. This one,
oh yeah,
I think I got Mo Vaughn and Chuck Knobloch on the top row.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the other set looks like this. It's just the one page I pulled out. Just Jeff Kent happened to be on it. Lower corner, yeah. So you can find these cards. It's probably easier to buy them by a set. And this book here is filled with just photographs. I take pictures of every guy that comes to the plate or pitches, and then I catalog them. And then if they make it, I print the photos out. So I have tons of stuff in here. So
well, it looks like you're in a warehouse there.
Yeah, I am.
That is the greatest baseball room in the history of baseball rooms in this organization. And I've got to get Mark to do a presentation on it at some point.
I can imagine. Wow, that's yeah.
To what do they lend their stability to? Is it simply because Cape Cod is not real big, so there's a limited number of venues? Or is it the popularity of each team? How has this league been so stable over the years?
It's a great vacation destination, number one. People come here and you come here for a week. Well, what's there to do? Well, let's go swimming one day. Let's go to the beach a couple of days. Let's go fishing, or let's do a whale watch. Let's go get ice cream. Let's go to a Cape League game. It's free. We can take everybody. And so that's what happens. People show up for it. There are the townies that have lived there, and they live there all year round, and are proud and happy and feel ownership of their teams. And there are the visitors that come every year, some that rent the same house year in and year out because they want to be there for it. Every team does clinics in the morning, for the kids. So, years ago, the Cape League baseball players used to have jobs. They used to have to work jobs here in the Cape League. I mean, there were stories. Ian Happ, the Cubs outfielder, was inducted into the Hall of Fame here about 4 years ago, came back and told a story what his job was. He worked on a farm. I mean, his job was literally slopping the hogs and cleaning out the pig stalls in a farm here. Darren Erstad, I mentioned him a little bit earlier. Darren Erstad worked at the Bradley's store in Falmouth. And in fact,
blast from the past.
Yeah. In fact, he was employee of the month. He was so good. There was a plaque which had his name on it that Peter Gammons is still trying to track down somewhere because he was so taken by that. Peter also tells a story about how at the local A&P store, he was working one day and some kid was bagging his groceries and said, "Oh, Mr. Gammons, I wanted to just say hi to you. I'm playing baseball down here for Bourne." And Peter said, "Well, what's your name?" "Mark Kotze." He
Oh.
obviously later played for the Red Sox and a number of other teams. And then back in 1976, back in the Metal Bat League, we had a player down here who actually led the league in hitting that year by the name of Nat Showalter. We know him better as Buck, okay? But his name was Nat back then. Nat's Showalter's job was painting the fence outside the Kennedy compound. And when he came back here to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, he said he spent more time gawking over the fence trying to get a glimpse of Caroline Kennedy in her bikini as opposed to, painting the Kennedy compound fence. But these were jobs that these players, some of them worked at the docks and cleaned fish before going to the games. And now all they really have to do is, show up at the clinics and do that. But that's another bond, that they develop with the kids. The kids go to the games, go to the clinics. They'll show them how to throw, how to hit. They'll pull out the slip and slide, so they'll slide into bases and play games of pickle. But later that night, those kids will come to the games and cheer on their instructors, who are now their friends, who are now their heroes. And you never know. I mean, if we could only turn back the clock, to 2012 and go to Brewster and see that big, tall center fielder by the name of Aaron Judge, out there playing, and say, "Hey, Aaron, could you sign a few of these baseballs now while you're nobody? So someday you're somebody." But then again, you never know. I mean, Chris Sale had a great year down here. Some of the players have had great seasons here. Some haven't. We had a kid here last year for Katuitt. His last name was Renato Sasaki. Came very highly touted. He was from Japan. He played at Stanford. He is the all-time home run leader in Japan high school history. He hit 140 home runs in high school, breaking Shohei Ohtani's record. His father was his baseball coach. His father was also Shohei Ohtani's baseball coach. Okay, so when he came here, he was highly touted. There were host families that wanted him to stay with them. I remember going to the ballpark. I brought my grandson there. My grandson wanted an autographed ball. Well, the kid came here and went from swinging an aluminum bat where he was hitting 140 home runs to swinging a wooden bat where he was just a little bit slower. I think he hit 3 home runs for the couple of weeks that he was here, but he eventually got, he struck out a lot, got discouraged, and went back home and, had it. So, you sometimes you have the player that comes very highly touted and you think, boy, this is the real deal, and it doesn't happen. And then you've got somebody who kind of out of nowhere does something big. 2 or 3 years ago, the kid, I believe he's playing for Cleveland now. Travis Bazzana was the number 1 draft pick. I think he played for Falmouth. Having a great year right now, but he was, kind of not a huge star here, but did some great things. Nick Gonzalez, who's a second baseman now for Pittsburgh, led the league in hitting back in 2019 for Katuitt. Another guy who, wasn't a big superstar, but made his way here and went on to big things. So it was just it would be so great to be able to go back in time and see these people and wonder, what would become of them. And I think, and Bill can speak for this too. I think the book takes a look at a lot of these. Bill wrote a great piece on a host family that hosted Jason Varitek here. On the Cape, and who would have known, back then what would have transpired in his career.
Yeah. Larry Pucciarelli in the chat. I believe Jeff Reardon pitched for Katuitt and pumped gas in Hyannis.
Sounds about right. Yeah.
I know that you can stream these games through the CapeLeague.tv app. Do you know anything about that? Is it a free app? Do you have to pay for the games? How does it work?
You can download it. If you have Apple TV, for example, I think you can download the app.
You can download it on a Fire Stick too.
Yeah.
And a Roku TV.
Yeah. And the beauty of it is, I mean, not so much for us here who sometimes it's too hot to go out, or don't want to hit the traffic. But for the family that lives in Kansas who can't get out to see their son who's playing baseball in Orleans, they can tune in and watch every single game that he plays. And the thing is, that's the other thing about this league. It's not only that we're bringing in, baseball players that are here from colleges. Every team has between, I would say, anywhere from 30 to 50 interns that do everything from broadcast to social media to on-field announcing to game reporting to to writing press releases and those type of things, and they also either stay with host families or sometimes stay in motels locally that are put up by the team. So every team has a broadcast team that does the games. So for example, let's just say your son plays for Orleans. When Orleans is at home, you have the home Orleans team broadcasting the game on the television. If your son, if the Orleans team is playing at Harwich, you could tune into the Harwich feed and listen to the game, as opposed to watching it, so to speak. So, what happens is while the Orleans game is being filmed, I guess, and the Orleans people are doing it, the Harwich players are doing it as like a radio feed.
Yeah.
From that.
That's the same way that happens with MILB TV on the Bally Sports app on your streaming devices. You get the home team's feed.
Yeah. So you won't have the pictures, but you'll have that. But if you want to go to the home team feed, you can see that. So either way, you're getting a chance to watch every single game they play, which really is it's a great opportunity, and that's only been around for about 3 years now.
So the book is coming out shortly, isn't it?
I think it's I
can speak to that. The book is going to be out any day now. Really, I've been told that the copies are in the mail to contributors, and I believe it will probably be announced Friday or a week from Friday. And as Mike said, we're going to plan to celebrate it on June 24th.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yep. As a Saber member, you get to download that book for free to your whatever device you want. You can get an EPUB for your Kindle, a PDF and such. And you'll get the email when that book is ready with the free link in there already. So watch your email, and you're going to be able to see that book up close and personal. I am going to share something from Dan Sichalski. If y'all can see that on the screen right now, I'll blow that up a little bit. And there's Jason Varitek's autograph.
Yeah.
He got Tech's autograph at a game, and he got Rich Aurelia too. I'll show you that one. This is the beauty of the league, where you can get these autographs so easily. There's Rich Aurelia right there. It's hard to. There you go.
Very cool.
So you're now, Mike, in an elevator, and somebody notices your quarter zip there, and they're like, "Hey, what's the Cape Cod League?" What's your elevator pitch to get them interested in the league to either attend a game or watch on TV?
I would just ask them, who's your favorite player, or what's your favorite team? And if whatever their team was, I would rattle off 3 or 4 players that, first of all, came through the Cape Cod Baseball League that you could have watched play for nothing before you're paying these exorbitant prices to see them now. I mean, really, where the stars of tomorrow shine tonight. It's such an apropos motto or slogan because it's true. I just kind of put a listing of and I did this last year, and I think they're still there. But if I had to put an all-star team together, here's a potential all-star team. First base, Pete Alonso of the Orioles now, played for Bourne in 2015. Second base, Brendan Donovan of St. Louis, played for Hyannis in 2017. Shortstop, Jeremy Pena of Houston, played for Chatham in 2017. Third base, Max Muncy of the LA Dodgers, played for Wareham in 2010 and 11. In left field, Jarren Duran, Red Sox, played for Wareham in 2017. The center fielder, Tommy Edman of the Dodgers, played for YD in 2015. Right fielder, Aaron Judge, played for the Yankees. Obviously played for the Brewster, in 2012. Catcher, Cal Raleigh for Seattle in 2016 for Harwich. The DH, Kyle Schwarber. That's another interesting thing. Last year's Major League Triple Crown was won by the Cape Cod League. Aaron Judge was the leader in hitting. Schwarber was the RBI leader, and Raleigh was the home run leader. Okay, through Major League Baseball. So that's an interesting thing. My right-handed pitcher, I'd probably pick Paul Skeens, who came through Wareham in 2021. And the left-handed pitcher, Chris Sale for YD, and throw in Jeff Hoffman as your relief pitcher from Hyannis. That's not a bad lineup. And so I mean that's just and I'm sure that there are a handful of other players right now. I mean, I could eliminate Cal Raleigh and put in Adley Rushman as my catcher. There are plenty of if I was really if I was really wanted to kill a rally, I could put Connor Wong in, I guess, as a catcher because he caught down here too. And then the Cape League Baseball Hall of Fame. I mean, we've had such people as Thurman Munson. Munson played down here in 1967. Ron Darling, from the Cape League. Will the Thrill Clark, Steve Bye-Bye Balboni. They were all Cape Leaguers. And, the Red Sox people like Mo Vaughn, Nomar played down here. Mike Lowell, Andrew Miller, Veritek. And then guys like Terry Steinbeck and Robin Ventura and Corey Schneider. It's just, you go down through the list and, there are just all-stars and superstars and people that still continue to be, successes to this very day.
And you made my point about baseball and specifically the Cape Cod League with that all-star team. This league can appeal to such a broad range of baseball fan because of a high quality product, the fact that you can see so many good players before they get into organized minor league ball or the major leagues. But here's the thing, the whole thing, all 10 teams, everything in this league is connected so closely to the communities that they're in. And it simply has become not just a league, but a tradition.
No, absolutely. And I mean, again, it's all based and built on volunteers. There's nobody that's taking a penny from the guy that's parking cars, if you're pulling into a driveway, to, you name it, the people that are handing out programs or whatever else. And it's from the guy that's 95 years old that's still helping out there to the little kids that they bring in. And the other thing too is you're probably not going to hear Sweet Caroline at any of those ballparks. So praise the Lord. That's so good, so good, so good.
Wow. I love all those silly things. They sing Thank God I'm a Country Boy in the 7th inning stretch in Baltimore stuff. I love all those silly little things.
Yeah.
Gee whiz. Hey, this has been a lot of fun. This is very, very interesting. It's been a great precursor to the book that's coming out. Watch your email. If you're a Saber member, you can download that book for free. You can get a physical copy. You can order that through our website. I'm not. How much are physical copies of the book, Bill? Do you know?
Don't know.
I forget to, but watch your email because that's coming out in the next few days, and I think everybody is going to enjoy it. But hey, let's do this again Monday night, May 11th at 7 p.m., not 7:30, 7 p.m., where we will have Saber member and a good friend of mine, John Graff, and his book, Simulating Satchel, a what-if history of integrated Major League Baseball in 1934. The sign-up link is available in the chapter meeting booklet and at the Saber events calendar. And finally, if you're a baseball fan watching on YouTube and you like what you see, please like this video and subscribe to our channel to be alerted to each of our weekly uploads. And if you're not yet a member, why not? You need to join the Society for American Baseball Research, the premier baseball community, offering an amazing baseball buffet of options to explore your fandom. Saber boasts more than 35 different research committees, over 80 regional chapters, and innumerable opportunities to connect with baseball minds across the world, like Mike Richards. For more information, go to saber.org today. Mike, wow, you're awesome. I can't thank you enough for doing this.
Well, please come to the Cape anytime. We'd love to see you.
Will you be putting us up?
Yeah, well, putting you up.
Yeah, I mean, really, I mean,
Sure.
Food,
Yeah.
Everything. I mean, really.
I've got a big front lawn. Yeah.
Perfect. All right. All right, let's get everybody out of here. Watch a little baseball. We'll see you again Monday night. Mike, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks to everybody
Thank you.
here. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you. All righty.